Good evening, Minnesota. How you be tonight? All right. Thank you for coming to Equilibrium. Welcome to the Loft. Welcome to Open Book. My name is Bao Phi, Program Director at the Loft Literary Center. This is the 11th year of Equilibrium, spoken word at the Loft. Yes. And we have a lot of people to thank. Obviously, the community. We have to thank DJ Knock on the ones and twos. Browntown for doing all the video and audio, which you'll be able to see on YouTube very shortly. Josh Darude in the booth for being the pro of pros of sound. And all of you for showing up for poetry. Wonderful. Batman showed up. How you doing? Okay, come here. All right, so Equilibrium is made possible by a major grant from the Cerna Foundation. And one of the winners tonight we have this new thing called the Spoken Word Immersion Fellowship for artists of color and indigenous artists from all over the country. And basically it was a fellowship where people could apply and you would win up to $8,000 to do a community immersion project. And one of the winners is PC Muñoz from the Bay Area. And it's his vision that we're here tonight for Half Breed, a celebration of mixed race artists. So we're really glad to have you all here. Also, one of the judges, J. Otis Powell, is in the house. Yeah. So J. Otis and PC should definitely do this after the show. I don't know what this is about. Oh, turn off your cell phones and stuff, okay? Thanks also to Anna. Did I say Anna's going to be taking your picture? Don't freak out. A couple of other things that we're doing. The Loft Literary Center offers everything from workshops to fellowships to grants to performances. Check us out at www.loft.org for all types of opportunities. In fact, tomorrow at 2 p.m., there's another reading right here, a free reading. How many of you know Roy McBride, the former Roy McBride? Yes. So Roy McBride was a wonderful poet who lived in Powderhorn. We called him the Lake Street Laureate. He passed away. He was a wonderful, generous poet and soul. And his book is published by Norton. And we're doing a posthumous book release tomorrow. The MC will be Alex Pate. I'll be performing along with, we'll be performing poems by Roy from the book. Myself, Carolyn Holbrook, Carol Connolly, Louis Alamayu. It's here at 2 o'clock. It's free, so please check that out. Other spoken word Equilibrium immersion shows. Saturday, March 22nd, 2014. Virginia Grease, she got a fellowship for working with Somali and Latino communities on Lake Street. And so her presentation will be here on March 22nd. And then Saturday, May 3rd, 2014, Janet Rogers and Alex Jacobs, the final fellows, will be performing a multimedia spoken word show celebrating Mohawk culture. So check that out. I know that's a lot to remember, so just join our EQ mailing list or our EQ Facebook group and find out all this information so you don't have to burn it into your mental memory, okay? Can you go to Mama for this? What do you say to that? Show's over. Good night. All right. So without further ado, we're doing things a little bit differently tonight. The performers are going to go a little bit on the shorter end so that there'll be a time for a Q&A at the end of the evening. Okay. So we're going to kick off the show without further ado. The first poet we have up is R. Vincent Moniz Jr. Yes! He's an enrolled member of the 3 affiliated tribes of North Dakota and grew up in the Phillips neighborhood of South Minneapolis. He'd like to thank Hyde Erdrich for her mentorship as he learns to become a poet. And I believe you're still the reigning Indigenous Poetry Slam champ, right? That's right. That's right. So make some noise for Vincent.
third one of these. This is pretty exciting. Seriously, I have to take a moment and kind of pull this in. It's been an incredible 3-year journey, I have to say that. It's amazing to be able to come up here like this and do this. When they asked me about half-breed, I'm just 2 different kinds of Indian, really. So I was like, yeah, half and halves. I'll do the show. And but I thought to myself, well, what does this really mean? You know what I mean? Like, what is this? What is this to me? And for me, I think of my cousins that are mixed race. You know, they're not just Indian and Indian. They're Indian white, Indian black, Indian Asian, Indian and Hawaiian. It's so cool. You look great, sir. You look great. One of my cousins here. Mom's from Hawaii. So when I thought about that, I thought about my cousins. My 2 cousins in particular, Norman and Kurt. I think about them because they're both Indian and Montana rancher. That's a whole different race of people that you get. Maybe not so much in Minneapolis, but that's a people. And so they were real, like when I was a kid, they were a little bit older than me, they were tough. They were really really tough. And some of the things that they'd like be tough about are driving the res roads on my reservation because they're really scary. Even now, in parts of my reservation, there are no roads because of the oil trucks that are coming and going, and people are dying, people that don't need to. And so I thought about this, about the strength of my mixed race cousins, and I thought to myself, I need to come to the show and I need to share about them. This piece is called The Wind of This Way. Curves? No, these aren't curves. These are the back roads that wind through my reservation. Roads that dance into a pair of jeans made of the plains. These arteries are dangerous and deadly. From sweet, delicate ankle twist to mischievous sharp turn of a grin, these trails are seldom driven at night. As the sun sets, its path becomes uncontainable. Sway to a whispered rhythm, a silent ride and contort. Routes shift in a night that is darker than 40 boiled owls. These roads that are not roads will only be traveled on by the most adventurous, the brave, and the illest of women and men. The roadside is monument to the unworthy, flowers and tokens of remembrance to those who did not respect this passage. These curves that are not curves follow the movement of the snake people, come out of their homes to find a better place in the warmth and glow of the sun. So I was just gonna stand up here, but I think to myself, like last week I just got done doing a show called Artifact Traffic that Heidi curated, right? It was amazing. It was at Immersion Arts. Not that the Loft is an amazing place for people who write and stuff. I was at another place that is also awesome, and it's really great to have 2 of those places right here in the city. Yeah. I hope I'm not in trouble later. So I was at this other show, not anything, and I thought to myself, I am probably not going to be able to do those poems that I had turned into bits of play for maybe ever. So I thought, I'll only do one, and then I'll go out as I came in. The first time I came here, I moved around, and it was awesome. There were people everywhere. I had to step over people. It was really great. So I'm going to do this from that show. It's called The Pollen Taker's Return. And I know there's a camera person, so I'll try to move as slow as possible. Okay? Last bumblebee in the world droops clear wings on my windowsill, asks me if I know how to really listen. Cut open a slim cowboy killer. Put 1 part sugar, 4 parts into my favorite coffee cup. Edge my opening offer up close to this buzzing relative and whisper, story. Out of long, spindly tongue, twist saga of a kingdom so grand, it is sewn into the beating heart of earth. Lone bumblebee tells of its kinship to the sun. Begins secret dance that binds both in warmth and survival. Lone bumblebee. Chance but lonely wait for pollen taker's return. Pushes the cup away. Tells me it is enough for now. Climbs up to my mandan earlobes and thanks them for accepting today's retelling. Dances out of my window in desolate drone apocalypse. Does one lap around my house before disappearing in mid-afternoon flare. Oh, shit. Thank you.
One more time for Vincent. So handsome. Gonna start a website, Steezy Indian Men. All right, inside joke. Okay, next up, we have Emily Johnson. And I always love being a part of any program that Emily Johnson is doing, because when I ask for a bio photo from Emily, I know it's gonna have a salmon and like steampunk goggles. That's always gonna happen. She actually is a well-known choreographer and dancer. She is working on a project called Shore. It's a third of a trilogy of performance works, which are volunteerism, story, performance, and feast. And I'm happy to say that the Loft will be involved with the literary part of that in June. So we're very excited. Emily also was a part of our Native American Inroads program, which is where I first heard her poetry, and I've been wanting to get her back here ever since. So please welcome to the mic, Emily Johnson.
The whale enters the room, undulates its spine, rolls its huge belly forward, opens its mouth. Water pours over its teeth, out the door, and down the stairs. There is the smell of rain. Whale's soft eye is gazing at everyone in the room. Whale takes a deep breath. Then there is the sound of breath. The floor sinks a bit under its weight, creaks. Then there is a sound the world has never heard. People in the room drop their heads, their shoulders, their arms, their hands to the floor. They're crawling forward in the sound, each one of them toward the whale. They want to touch it. They want to remember. They want to hear. They want to rock into that belly. They are whispering. They are whispering without knowing they are whispering. Ongoing, everlasting, forgotten sounds, sounds they forgot of their mothers, sounds their mothers made when they first entered the world. I think of my mom a little bit in that one, and she's from New Jersey. She came to Alaska, where I'm from, and she met my grandma first, and then she met my dad, and then she stayed, and then she became part of this fish and whale place that I was born into. So I'm Yupik on my father's side, and my last two poems kind of bleed into one another, so first I'm just going to, again, mention Shore briefly. I have these postcards, which is mostly that I'm curating this reading that will happen here as part of Shore, an equal part of Shore. The performance happens in June, and I'll be putting out a call in January for work. So if you want to know about that and want to submit something, find me and I'll give you this, and then you'll have all the info. Do you remember that story I told you about the tree? I'll tell it again. There was a monster that bit off my ear. It cut off my arms, every branch. Cut my legs at the knees. Cut my belly and my head. Kept cutting and cutting and cutting. And then started to dig. It tried digging right into my chest. It dug up all my roots. It funneled my blood into a jar, counted every drop. Then it picked up a sack, threw everything in, gave my parts back, and said, "There, thank you for your time." My eyes were looking out toward the west, and I just stood there for a very long time. My mother, she stitched back my arms. My aunties sang back my legs. I poured my own blood back in. We noticed that there were many to tend to, and while we were busy, the monster came and moved the river. Another came and took away the trees. More came, and they flattened my favorite sledding hill. One of them came, moved into my grandmother's house, and threw all of her pots onto the floor. Then they went away. But they came back, cut up the ground, and gave my father 3 parts. "This is for a day a long time from now," my father said. He put it on the counter, and I looked down at the map. Do you remember that story I told you about the monster? I'll tell it again. It's about my eyes. They're blue. Out in the sunlight, they're actually amazingly blue. In high school, I even won Best Eyes. My family says that they come from king salmon, big blue eyes like king salmon, we say. Because where else did they come from? Did someone drop them in the snow, freezing them whole for more life to come when warm, birthed, safe? Did they walk themselves across a bridge, jump up into our heads? Were they forgotten, left upon leaving, left when done with skins, pelts? In these eyes, did someone find use? Did someone find some eyes, some left behind eyes, some frozen blue eyes, and put them to use? Is somebody missing some eyes? Did you lose your eyes somewhere where you came looking for skins and pelts? Where you saw more than skins and pelts, where you took more? Take my eyes. Take my eyes, not my life, or hers, or ours. Big blue eyes, like King Salmon, we say. I hope there was a nice man somewhere who for a moment or more loved instead of killed, blurring history enough to notice that these blue eyes are strong, not mine, but how we pass the blue down and on, down and on. Or maybe there was a nice man here who for a moment or more loved, blurring a history, creating a long line of blue-eyed warriors and weavers and fishers and drunks. These blue eyes are strong, not mine, but the code. The digits that send them on makes blue and blue and blue. And we resolve to be warrior, fisher, weaver, drunk, if we must be something more than just alive. And alive we are, standing at the river and the ocean and that other ocean and at all the oceans of the world, including the one that laps the shores of our would-be conquerors who came and did not conquer, but mingled, mixed, and left stories behind and blue. Left furred, broke, rich, dead, or dead themselves. Or maybe there was no Gusuk, leaving seamen and a penchant for things. Maybe it was King Salmon all along. Besides, this is the same ocean. We share the same shores. Besides, I would never draw the blue out. I would never extract the blue. Koyana, for the blue, and for my blue, thank you. Thank you. For my blue, thank you, King Salmon, for my blue.
One more time for Emily Johnson. All right. So when I hear artists like Emily and Vincent, I'm just so proud to be from Minnesota. We have such a wonderful community here. We have so many wonderful artists. So definitely support them, check them out, go see their shows, follow them, shake their hand. It's just a wonderful community to be part of. Are you all feeling good? All right, so we want to also thank, in addition to CERDNA, National Endowment for the Arts, Minnesota State Arts Board, Archie D. and Bertha H. Walker Foundation, all Loft members, and of course you all for always showing up. It's always good to see you all here. You're the reason we exist for 11 years, so thank you for coming. If you like what you see, definitely bring people our way. So I'm going to take a couple more pictures before I I always do this unless I forget. So we have one of our features tonight tripped me out. She gave me these Prince Purple Rain buttons, which is really cool. I don't know what to do with them. I feel like they should either be in a museum or just on my chest permanently. So, and somebody already tried to pick you up at Grumpy's? Like, what's... Already? You haven't even been... I've lived here 30 years, nobody ever tries to pick me up. You're here for like 5 minutes. Anyway, Erica Nalani Benton is a musician actively performing in venues throughout California and Guam since 2004. Rooted in movement work since her youth, Erica sees music as a source of cultural and spiritual empowerment and liberation for herself and her community. As a musician and political educator, she has worked against U.S. militarism by drawing attention to the growing militarization of Guam. In 2009, Erica garnered international attention for these issues with her song Back to Guam, which appeared alongside artists Michael Franti, Funkadesi, thank you, and Jay Boogie on the internationally released album Global Lingo. Presently, she can be found working in a bookstore and playing shows with her band, Little Sister. This is her first time in Minnesota. And we're just so excited to have her here. Please welcome Erica Nalani Benton.
Thanks so much for having me. Vincent and Emily, that was beautiful. And I'm really excited to be here in your beautiful city. Thank you. Another crack, another crack. And I'm fine, yeah, I'm fine, I'm so fine. I took it back, I took it back, I took it back. Another line, another line, another line about his soul. And his soul, and his soul, and his soul. Yeah, I'm fine, I'm so fine, I'm so fine. I took it back, I took it back, I took it back. Another line, another line, another line. And I crack, I crack, I crack about the soul. And soul, and soul, and soul.
So yeah, just a little about myself. My family's from everywhere. I'm Chamorro, I'm Hawaiian, I'm Portuguese, I'm Pacific Islander, I'm white. Everyone in California thinks I'm Mexican, and that's cool with me too. Because we're basically the Mexicans of the Pacific.
All this time I got left behind. All this fate I could find a mate. Your eyes on my demise. Your hate still these words won't complete me. I feel them, I feel them, I feel them, I feel them. All this rage, 'cause I'm missing pages, tore all them out. For all the blankets, your white lies. Ain't you tired of being right? Yeah, I'm wrong.
song is called Lionsgate. Thank you so much for having me and for listening.
Ship under this train and no one holding stones up on the black curl coat of a flame ain't got nowhere else to go. The smoke is gray on night and making me to step out to the unknown. So I step, I fetch a match, my head's gonna catch on soon, and I'm singing if the lions getting out well, singing if the lions getting out well, singing if the lions getting out well, singing if the lions getting out well. Back to say goodbye, she smiles at me and tell me it's all the same. At the end of the day, we all gonna die. So tell me why you're so afraid to sink, to swim, get in the waves. I'll be sending them all out into my grave, and I'll leave. I will. If I love to live at the bottom of the running, I will be singing if the lions getting. I will singing if the lions getting. I will singing if the lions getting. I will singing if the lions getting. I will. I see you with the lions getting. I will see you with the lions getting. I will see you with the lions getting. I will. Lord, I will. I feel my cup up each time I come for another thrill, and I can't. I teach the kids, the boys to be girls and the girls to be boys, and I live my life away. No shame in my dictionary. I walk slow and steady road, strong. I'm living on the yellow brick road, and I will be singing if the lions getting. I will singing if the lions getting. I will singing if the lions getting. I will singing if the lions getting. I will. I see you with the lions getting. I will see you with the lions getting. I will see you with the lions getting. I will. Lord, I will. Lord, I will. Lord, I will. Lord, thank you so much.
Yeah, one of the intents of EQ when we started it 11 years ago was to connect artists of color and indigenous artists locally with those doing work nationally. So thank you, Erica, for coming to Minnesota for the first time. And hopefully this is just the first time. Hopefully you'll be back and build with a whole bunch of people here. Thank you very much. All right, so really quickly, before we get on to the last artist, a couple of things. I want to thank Asher Eads, who's our Loft events manager, and our volunteer, Tim, for working so hard to make tonight easy for us to just be artists and do our thing. And I know that there are MAC students who have to be out of here at 9:30 for, I don't know what you guys are doing, like saving the world or something. That's totally fine. Do what you need to do. Okay, so last up, we have two artists working in collaboration. First, we have PC Muñoz, who again is a Loft 2013 Immersion Fellow, and he's the reason we're here tonight. He's a half Chamorro, half European recording artist, poet, and musician based in San Francisco. And he's a frequent collaborator. He works with a cellist. I can't believe I just said cellist. Something happens when I get up here. It's like, I don't know what happens. I just like, yeah, okay. Cellist. He works with a cellist. And he has yielded two highly acclaimed projects, a Grammy-nominated album and an iTunes charting cello and beats duo. All right? He won the 2006 Do-It-Yourself Awards in Hollywood. He's worked with rock legend Jackson Browne, dream pop poet Ingrid Chavez, and many other folks. And you know, I just want to say that it's been a pleasure working with PC. I'm so glad that this project drew you to us and we get to work together. Really excited to see what you have tonight. It's going to be a multidisciplinary performance. He'll be collaborating with Jennifer Kreisberg, a mother, singer, composer, producer, teacher, and activist. She comes from 4 generations of 7 singing sisters through the maternal line and has been singing since she was young. She is known for her fierce vocals and soaring range. She's been singing with the critically acclaimed Native women's trio, Eulalie, since she was 17. And so we're really glad to have them collaborating, doing their thing tonight. So please, Minnesota, welcome PC and Jennifer.
standing on the point where my forefathers fought. And if singular the moments live on, psychically tangible with the right will, then there are 1,000,000 sacred moments in my being this evening. Rage and euphoria, disgust and desire, true love, and the worst sort of spite. The warriors and conquerors with surnames like mine look out upon the natives. Half civilized, they say, half savage. I watch, fingering my rosary half-heartedly. I am witness to every lost custom and word, helpless as I watch these once mighty remnants disappearing into lost caverns, to only possibly be half remembered. I remain standing, half bitter, half touched. The legacy in my name and on my soul, whether semi-glorious or half betrayal, it occurs to me that there is a gift in the curse. There is a gift in the curse. See, I am in between, neither but both. I experience my native land like a tourist, collecting winking smiles from locals and ramshackle trinkets from the mall, fielding offensive questions from friends and relatives, and vouching for my own authenticity, occasionally in the mother tongue. You see, I am trespassing on my own land. My cousin's blood is so deep in the soil, it comes back as rain, fogs up my windshield, condensation. So I call on my Chamorro ancestors to lead me the rest of the way. My Scottish ancestors show up instead and guide me to the park. See, I am the tragic mestizo, feral half-breed, possessor of a plethora of suspect mitochondria, a relative phantom, trespassing on my own land. I don't look the part, so I'm perpetually auditioning, hoping you'll find me ethnic enough, hoping you'll find me indigenous enough, hoping you'll find me down enough. I'll give you no reason to expect I'll philosophically turncoat on you at an inopportune time and embarrass you. See, I am trespassing on my own land. An uncle once told me to shed the family name because I look so howdy, as if my not quite deep brown skin was a blemish upon the family tree. I was young and meek, too stunned to retort, but old enough to remember to refer to it in Minneapolis decades later. But see, I only half care about that remark, because I already know I am not to be trusted with the bones of my ancestors, lest I eat them for dinner or sell them for profit, thereby setting off a chain of events that will result in the apocalypse. You see, I have come here this evening to confess that I am confused. I don't know who I'm supposed to be when I grow up, or what I am able to do, or who I should trust. or what I should worship, or where I should send my child to high school. I don't know where my prayers go, or who my neighbor is, or why I don't find Zooey Deschanel as charming as everybody else. I don't know when the world will end, or why some people don't wash their hands after they pee. I don't know how pyramids are built. I can't explain quantum mechanics satisfactorily to anybody without consulting numerous texts. I would be hard-pressed to name the last 6 Norwegian prime ministers, let alone pronounce their names correctly. I am confused. I can't state for certain what's going to happen to this planet in the next 50 years, though I have plenty of hunches. I cannot prove or disprove the existence of aliens or the non-existence of doppelgangers. I am occasionally confused by lines in my own poetry, rendering grapefruit in the Puzzle Talk Lagoon, for instance. This only happens to half-breeds, right? How about this? Some sounds and sights set off in me a nostalgia for things I never knew, a time I never saw, places I only dreamed of, actions I never took, songs I never sung, memories that didn't begin with me, didn't begin with me. From the minute we are born till the moment we depart, we traverse the labyrinth, familiar passageways and unsettling detours, seeking. What is every construct we create but a place to call home? Religion, where we call each other brother and sister. Academia, where we name each other master and doctor and learn to work in groups. And in the streets we don't even pretend, at least in California, we just say homie. So those terms that they used to call multiracial people, mixed race people, if you're being generous, might be viewed as a less evolved way of expressing some sort of misguided concern. The questions being, where will they belong? Who shall they become? Where shall they call home? I tell you this evening, I can only answer for myself. Though my mother is this, and my father is that, nah, because my father is this, and my mother is that, my home is not the ill-fated, sad-faced, confusion-rocked, drama-fueled nowhere they predicted. Nah. And it's not the idyllic rainbow-hued heaven on earth some promised to me either. No. My home is with my wife, my son, my family and friends. Because it turns out my mitochondria is full-blooded human. Just like you.
Sorry, it was in the overflow room where the kids, where the real party's at. One more time for PC and Jennifer. It's really great to have both Jennifer and PC here doing their thing. We're just going to open up for questions real quick, right? So if you have questions, just kind of stand up and try to project, okay? So, yes.
Can I ask you, what kind of cajon is that? I've never seen anything.
That is called Maribata. It's made by a guy named Joe Agus from Nigeria. And he makes his custom drums out of his Bay Area studio. Usually augmenting drums that originate from his tribe in Nigeria. And I met him at the NAMM show in Los Angeles a couple of years ago. And got to know him really well. Every time you go to his studio, it's like a musicology class. You learn a lot about the drums of his particular tribe in Nigeria. And I love his drums. Beautifully made, sound great, and you'll be happy knowing somebody else.
Yeah,
It's
it looks like, it looks beautiful. But because I first saw it, I said it's a cajon, you know.
It's a cajon, yeah, but then you put the bata heads on the side,
Yeah.
which are Brazilian drums, and
Is there a
the
little-
keys on the back. It is a magic box.
Yeah, that was a beautiful piece.
Thank you.
There was a sort of mesmerizing Blue Indians quality to it, you know.
Yeah, you know what? That was definitely in the back of our minds. That record.
Yeah, that's John
Fidel.
Yeah, that was there was that moment that had that beautiful mesmerizing. Now, are you composing that electronic music yourself?
Yeah, the soundscape I did back in San Francisco, so that Jennifer and I could kind of vibe off it and do things as we were feeling. You know, have her respond to the poem, to the poetry, and to the rhythms, and sort of create a space for us all to sit in to experience the words.
Yes, it was just gorgeous and beautiful, mythic sound. What kind of instrument is that?
This is just a real plexiglass drum. So I don't take the real word.
The tragic mestizo line was found.
Other questions or comments?
Questions, comments, problems? Did anybody show up thinking Cher was going to be here? I gotta say the story though. Oh yeah, when I first started putting this out on email blast and on social networks, first of all, I was reminded that people don't always, read your whole email or look at your whole post. Because I started getting all these people going, that's awesome, because, Cher had this hit song in the early 70s called Half Breed. And I got all these people, especially on the music end of my life, going, that's awesome, you're working with Cher. And, I was like, So I guess they're probably figuring, yeah, he's working with Cher now. And because I've come from a musician background where you're always looking to fill up the seats, I didn't quite deny that Cher was but, you know, then there's people from the more poetry and artsy side that, you know, one lady was like, that is so cool, you know, you're doing this radical spoken word deconstruction of that Cher song that touch on race relations in America, and Cher's gonna sing the hook. And I was like, that sounds badass, but that's like so not what's gonna happen. But again, I didn't quite deny Cher's presence. So I apologize to anybody that was thinking that she was gonna be here. She's also from California. I have nothing against her. Some of my best friends are gypsies, tramps, and thieves. And I occasionally do want to turn back time. And I believe in love after love. And I want to take this opportunity though to thank Bao for being so great, working with him as a family. 6 or 7 months of going back and forth and some minor diva moves on my part, and just things like that he was very patient with. And of course, thank the Loft Literary Center for allowing this project to happen in the first place, for which I'm deeply grateful. And very grateful for that you all came tonight as well. Any more questions? No? All right, well, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. So, thank you everybody for coming tonight. Again, we're always doing a lot of stuff. Check us out at www.loft.org. Join our Loft Facebook, join our EQ Facebook. PC has CDs for sale, as well as free armbands. Like, whoever brings free custom armbands and shit, grab one. And before you all leave, let's give one last big hand for all of our artists, Erica, Vincent, Emily, Jennifer, and PC. Thank you all. Have a good night.